So let's imagine our teammate wrote all this awesome code to create, list, update, and delete posts, but she didn't have the time to actually test the functionality. To make sure things are good for production, let's actually test the code to see that it works. I typically use Postman for hitting APIs, but I found this really nice extension called the Thunder client that allows us to make requests right from VS Code, and I think this is a pretty nifty tool. So I have these routes set up. Let's see if we can actually get things running. First, I'm going to check if our Docker container is running by running docker container ls, and it is. You can see that the container is up and running. So let's make a get request to our /posts route to see what we have in our database. My app is running on port 3000, and if I hit /posts, I should be able to see, it looks like our connection was refused. Let's bring back, oh, it looks like the server is not up. All right, npm run start dev. And now if I go and hit this route, http localhost 3000 /posts, I should see all of the posts that are in my database. All right, so it looks like there aren't any posts, but at least we know that the get route is working. Now let's actually try creating a post and let's get some data into our database a little bit. So if I make a post request to /posts with the body, I happen to know that the body takes a title. So I can say my first blog post, and it takes a body. So my awesome new blog post. Woohoo. And if I send this across, it actually creates a post in our database. So let's make a get request again and see if we get all of our posts. And I should get that one post that I created. Let's create, now that we have get and post working, let's try updating our post. So if I make a request to /posts/ the ID of the post, which is 5 in this case, I should be able to update one of these. So let me update the title and say my awesome first blog post and see if this works. Looks like there's an error. Let's actually try and debug this error together. It looks like the SQL, when I look at it, it says update set title where ID returning star. The SQL looks a little wrong to me, so let's go investigate. It should go into the routes directory, make a patch request to /ID. This goes to the post service update post. This delegates to post repo update. Okay, it passes in the ID and the data. Let's see if we are getting the data incorrectly. So I'm going to console log the ID and the data just to make sure that we are getting the ID and the updated data correctly. If I was to clear the console and try this again, let's make that request. Scroll up just a little bit and I should see, all right, the ID and the updated data is coming in correctly. So it looks like the services is doing its work and passing in the data correctly. So it must be somewhere within the update method itself. It looks like my colleague has forgotten to specify the table in which the update must happen. So here the fix would be putting in the table name of posts. And this hopefully should fix this problem. Let's try this out again. Send the request to /post/5 as the ID. Awesome. So it does look like it did update the database correctly and return to me that data. Let's say I come into the project and I don't like the idea of passing in the data through an object, but I actually want to pass it in as a comma separated list of arguments. So I remove this and I say ID and data as 2 separate arguments. And just to see if everything's working again, although I do see that this is a fairly contrived example, I'm going to go and try and update this blog post again and see what happens. Okay, so it failed. And so I'll have to go back into this service and say, okay, I'm delegating to the post repo and giving it a bunch of arguments, and it's taking an object, and I'll have to go and update this so that it takes the new syntax. And then now if I was to send this request again, let's change the title, super awesome first blog post, and then send it, and then it looks like it does work. In addition, say we wanted to have some validation layer in the routing itself. So for example, we may want to, when we're creating a post in this create function here, we want to validate, just assume we're adding some validation logic here to make sure that the body was in the correct shape, that the title was not empty, for example, or the body was not empty, or it exists. In order for us to test just one change made in the repository, we actually have to go through a whole cycle of manual testing. Now, if you take this idea further, it becomes quite clear that there's a problem. How adding new code, modifying existing code, and debugging any bugs that may arise due to existing code, the testing is very time consuming. And this problem gets only harder and harder as the code base increases in complexity and the team gets larger.